It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. I'm always happy to report when there is progress on one of those cases that is just ripping your hair out, infuriating. And of course, that is the down-ass kids, the rowdy-ass teens roughing up all the 7-Elevens, hurting those innocent cashiers.
If the cashier is dummy.
Nothing against the cashiers. I just really like that drop. I am happy to report there's been some major progress made on this gang of teens that go to a different 7-Eleven every Friday night to destroy the place. First, let's find out about the task force with the LAPD that got to work on this because it's getting a little ridiculous. For more, here's Fox 11.
7-Eleven stores overrun by mobs of young people stealing whatever they can get their hands on. This happened more than a dozen times, and police have a plan to stop it. Fox 11's Matthew Seedorf, he's live with details tonight. Matthew?
Well, Marla, workers and customers here say they're fed up. These robberies, though, they keep happening. Hordes of young people relentlessly robbing 7-Elevens.
Relentlessly robbing. That is some fantastic alliteration. You're learning, Seedorf.
Hordes of young people relentlessly robbing 7-Elevens across L.A.
Look at this. Destroyed.
At least 14 times in the last 2 months, crowds of people have overwhelmed stores.
14 7-Elevens.
What happened? Robbery. Stealing food and cigarettes, chucking bananas at clerks, even busting windows and knocking down aisles.
If you think you're just part of...
It's complete wilding. It's complete out of control lawlessness being committed by teenagers.
Even busting windows and knocking down aisles.
If you think you're just part of a group that's stealing chips and you're just stealing something to drink, you need to understand it's bigger than that.
Yeah. If you steal those cigarettes, you're going to get lung cancer in 50 years.
Los Angeles police now looking through surveillance video and clips posted to social media, releasing new images of suspects to help with their investigation.
Either family members, friends, public, they're going to know who they are. And they should not be engaging in this activity.
This location right across the street from Beverly Hills has been hit twice by thieves in recent weeks. Now they have visible security in these new mobile trailers.
Thank you for shopping 7-Eleven. For your safety, the parking lot is being video recorded.
Yeah, we are only a few horrific incidents away from having automated armed drones having to protect these places. That's right. We're going right into RoboCop, and after that, it's Terminator.
Pretty sad thing, you know, business owners get hurt, and there's really not much any cops could do.
You have to see it to believe it.
Last week, Rite Aid started locking up almost every item for sale at some stores in L.A., also trying to prevent retail theft. Why do you think it's happening?
I would say that it's boredom, but I don't think that. I don't think
it's boredom. There are plenty of things to distract the teenagers. Have you seen all the games on a Nintendo Switch?
It's an understanding that there's a lot of lack of consequences.
Police now.
Could be a little of that.
Police now.
Could be also the thrill of living on the edge.
Police now increasing patrol around LA 7-Elevens, hoping to catch the next flash mob robbers.
We don't want to obviously instill fear in juveniles and youth, but we want them to understand there are consequences.
Well, why wouldn't we want to instill fear in juveniles that they shouldn't be roughing up and destroying and robbing 7-Elevens?
So police say they're doing what they can, but interestingly enough, 13 of these 14 robberies across the LA area took place on Friday evenings. Reporting live tonight, Matthew Seedorf, Fox 11 News.
So that aired last Friday. And like you heard in the piece, the LAPD, their task force on the 7-Eleven robberies being committed by teenagers, they put out surveillance video. They put out pictures of the suspects. And over the weekend, something kind of incredible happened. Parents of these teenagers, these rowdy-ass, down-ass kids,
the neighborhood kids, the down-ass kids don't like it,
turned them into the police. Parents turned their own children into the police when they found out that their kid was responsible for robbing the 7-Eleven. And I gotta say, good for you, parents. Now, we're going to tell you all the details on that. Here's what I want to hear from you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We get a lot of parents that listen to this radio station, a lot of parents that listen to this show. Maybe you've got small kids, maybe you've got teenagers yourself, maybe you've got grown kids. But here's the hypothetical, because I'm sure this is never going to happen to you because you're raising your kids right. But let's say you see a video of your kid roughing up the 7-Eleven. You see a video on social media or released by the police of your kid robbing a convenience store. You turn them into the police. I would assume you would do that. Now, because they're a juvenile, not much is going to happen after that. Their record's going to be cleared by the time they're 18. We'll see if they actually serve any time. Most likely not. But the parents, what will you do after that point? What do you do to punish your kid because you're the one that's ultimately responsible for them? There's not a whole lot that's going to happen to them in the carceral system. Maybe there is, but most likely not. So now it's on you. So what would you do if you saw your kid in a video destroying a 7-Eleven? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's hear about the parents that finked on their own kids on Fox 11.
Call it tough love. Teenagers died to several flash mob robberies turned in tonight by their parents. Police count 14 store robberies from July to September.
Fox 11's Gina Silva.
It's a busy summer for those kids.
Fox 11's Gina Silva live for us tonight in Hollywood with the story. Gina.
It's also got to be quite frightening if you happen to be working at 7-Eleven and you get scheduled for the Friday shift, because that's when the freaks come out at night.
Alex, Christine, sometimes tough love is exactly what is needed. That's the sentiment shared by the people we interviewed.
Parents probably did the right thing, because if you don't stop them young, they can go pretty far with it.
If you don't teach them as early as possible that this is the wrong thing to do, they might escalate. You know, there's probably a lot of parents out there that they caught their kid trying to steal a candy bar at a pharmacy, and they taught them immediately, you don't do that. Absolutely not. But what would you do as a parent if you found out your kid was on video robbing a 7-Eleven? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222.
In Hollywood, nothing but praise for the parents who made the tough decision to turn in their kids over to the LAPD after those parents found out their kids were involved in these chaotic and disruptive flash mobs at multiple 7-Eleven stores.
I think the parents totally did the right thing by turning the kids in. You got to teach them young about what's right and what's wrong.
On September 28th, another parent in Southwest area.
At Tuesday's LAPD Commission meeting, Assistant Chief Blake Chow announced that parents surrendered their teens to different police stations on September.
It took them right down to the station. I can imagine like grabbing their earlobe, like, come on, we're not doing this.
On September 26th, 28th,
and on September 29th, a similar situation occurred in 77, where the parent turned the child in, and that juvenile was also booked for robbery.
The public shaming is working. Releasing that video, even though they're minors, releasing that video. My question to you at 800-222-KABC is this. If you saw your kid on video stealing from a 7-Eleven, robbing a 7-Eleven, would you turn them in? Would you do anything else beyond that? Because you're ultimately responsible for them. How do you punish them? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222.
Licensed clinical psychologist Dr. David Swanson says the parents may have acted out of desperation, knowing they've lost control of their kids.
Think about this. Your kid's out riding bikes all over town, running into stores, stealing stuff. You clearly don't have a handle on the situation. And so for many of these,
I think the first thing we do is take a circular saw to that bicycle. That thing's going bye-bye.
Parents, they might worry.
Or, donate it to charity or something. But I don't know, I think you get a better image of it if you burn it or destroy it. But that bike is used for no good, and God help you if you got your kid an e-bike.
Parents, they might worry that these kids are going to, grow to get involved in bigger and greater crimes and actually do some real time in prison.
Many of the juveniles involved are not from the neighborhoods where the crimes have occurred.
The LAPD is still asking for help in identifying these teens.
Even if you're young and you're thinking this is something fun to do with your friends, it's wrong, and it's better that the parents reinforce that. That's where you first learn from, is at home. So I think the parents did a good job.
They did a good job now. Now, you can make an argument, how did it get this bad? But you know what? Kids get dragged into this kind of stuff pretty quickly. You want to become popular? The kids are all on their social media group. They're TikToking. They're uploading the videos on social media to make even more money, showing them destroying the 7-Eleven. In high school, they have those challenges where, hey, who can destroy the bathroom the fastest? Social media really is a poison on society. I said it.
The teens were released back into their parents' custody. Now, Dr. Swanson points out that these are minors, so when they become adults, their records will be sealed. So it's better to take care of it now than when it becomes a more serious problem. Alex, Christine?
So there you go. Parents saw the news reports. They saw the reports of the LAPD when they posted the surveillance video, when they posted the pictures of the suspects, because these kids were so brazen they weren't even wearing masks, and the parents turned in their own kids. My question to you at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222 is this. Would you turn in your kid if you saw them on video robbing a 7-Eleven? Would you punish them beyond that once they got booked? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. We're taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. The LAPD 7-Eleven Task Force investigating the gang of teens that goes every Friday night and robs a different 7-Eleven and destroys the place. They came up with a tactic. We're going to post the video. We're going to post photos of every suspect that we think we can identify. And something magical happened. A bunch of the parents of these teenagers dragged their kids to the police station to turn them in. Hypothetically, if you saw your kid in a video robbing a 7-Eleven, would you turn them in? Would you punish them beyond that once they got out? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's start with Kevin in Upland. Kevin, hello.
Hey, good afternoon. I just have three words: consequence, consequence, consequence. It's ridiculous. They turn the kids into the police, and then the police give the kids right back to the parents. The police should have booked these kids and put them in jail overnight pending arraignment like they would anybody else. The problem is you have a victim here. Those 7-Elevens are independently owned stores, a lot of them, and if they go in there and do $10,000, $15,000 worth of damage, they've caused a lot of harm. There is a victim. And I don't care if the kid is 15 or 16. I could care less. He's caused damage. Normal 15 and 16-year-olds are at home doing their homework at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. These are bad people. And I don't care if they're 15. They hurt someone. But considering the system we have, if my 15-year-old came home with a handful of $500 worth of cigarettes and there's no consequence, what's wrong with telling them, hey, the next time you guys do this, call me up so I can join you, because nobody's going to get in trouble for it. So let's all go rob a 7-Eleven together, because George Gascon's not going to do anything about it. And let's all just get tons of money. No, this system is broke. The police did the wrong thing by not booking those felons and putting them behind bars, pending arraignment, make them sit in jail for 2 or 3 days until the judge can get to them, and then let them enter a plea. That's how the system works for an adult. This is an adult crime. This is not somebody going into 7-Eleven and stealing a candy bar. They're tearing the place apart. They're breaking windows. They're knocking down displays. These are independent little businesses. It's a mom-and-pop store, and they're hurting people, and they need to pay the consequences of it. They really, really do. The punishment should fit the crime. They are changing people's lives. They have horrible what they've done is they have victimized people. They may as well, that 7-Eleven owner, they may as well have went to his house, kicked in his front door, and took all the food out of his refrigerator so he can't feed his family, because they cause that kind of damage to these people, to these owners. there are victims here. We need to stop thinking about these little punks and, oh, poor Johnny, and we need to start thinking about the damage, the hurt, the pain they caused. That's all I got to say.
I think you're totally right. I think that was an impassioned speech. I can feel it in you. We have got to show these kids that this kind of behavior is unacceptable. And I'm glad you point out the difference between the normal kids, because 99% of kids would never even think of doing this. But for the problem ones, we got to show them that this is unacceptable. I think you take them down there, make them clean up that 7-Eleven. I also think to, throw in some old school parenting in there. If your kid stole a carton full of cigarettes, I'm going to stand here and watch you smoke the entire thing. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. If you saw your kid on a video robbing a 7-Eleven in these massive packs of kids on bikes that are going every Friday night, would you turn them into the police? Would you punish them further? 800-222-KABC. Let's go to Shelly in Hollywood. Shelly, hello.
Hi. Thanks for listening to my story. So I had a couple of kids that actually went to a mall, and they came home with a backpack, and I snuck outside, and I looked in their window, and I saw them taking stuff out of this backpack. And I knew that my kids did not have the money to go to the mall, and so I went into the room, and I went into the armoire where I saw that they were cramming all the stuff in, and they were like, it was nonsense stuff, like things that they couldn't even use, right? It was like beanies, and it was like a hot summer day. So they went outside to play. I took everything out of the armoire. There was like 12 pieces. I put it on my bed, and I called them back into the house, and I said, get in my room, and they about died when they saw the stuff that they stole on my bed. I said, okay, what store was this? They were crying. I don't want to tell you. I said, oh, no, you're going to tell me, and I'm going to take you there. So I called the store. I said, I'm bringing my kids in. They took these beanies, and I want them to I want to return them. And I said, I want you to have the security there. I want security there when I bring them in. So I brought them in. Security was there. And the security, I'm so glad, he was like really gruff with them. Took them downstairs to the office, security office, and wrote a whole thing on them, and said you can't come back until you're 18 years old. They're like, 10 years old back then. Make a long story short, they had to write I'm sorry letters. They were grounded for 2 months. I didn't take them off the grounding. My stepson and my son, they were not taken off the grounding. And, they paid dearly, trust me. I told every friend of mine that story, how terrible they were. They weren't raised this way. And I'm just sick with especially, this was like 25 years ago. I am sickened by what I'm seeing on the TV today. And now my son is a father. And, he's got a brand new baby, and we're like on the same path. We are not letting that kid out from under our sight, because peer pressure is a real thing, but parenting is a hard job. And trusting them, I'm sorry, you can't trust your kids. You can't tell me that they're great kids, because kids do get into trouble. But this is criminal. These guys are criminals. And they learned it from somewhere. And I'm telling you, this was damage out of control. Someone could have been seriously hurt or killed.
Wow, that's an incredible story, Shelley. And it sounds like you scared the living daylights into them, and they went on the right path, obviously. I love that. Thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. Oh, my goodness, wasn't that great? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. There are packs of down-ass kids on bikes.
The neighborhood kids, the down-ass kids don't like it.
Roughing up a different 7-Eleven every single Friday. The LAPD task force put out the video, they put out the pictures, and some of the parents of those kids dragged their kids to the police station to turn them in. If you saw your kid in a video robbing a 7-Eleven, would you turn them in? Would you punish them beyond that? 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It is the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. We're here every single day from 5 to 6 talking about the local issues that matter to you most and taking your phone calls at 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. We take your emails as well at randykabc@gmail.com. That's randykabc@gmail.com. The LAPD task force on the 7-Elevens that have been roughed up every Friday night by packs of biking teenagers, they came up with a strategy. Let's release the video. Let's release the pictures because these kids weren't even wearing masks. And something amazing happened. Parents of the teenagers dragged their kids to the police station to turn them into the cops. My question to you at 800-222-KABC is this. Hypothetically, if you saw a video of your kid robbing a 7-Eleven, would you turn them into the police? Would you punish them further? Would you take away their phones forever? Ban all their social media? Rip that bike into pieces? What would you do? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to Bill in Irvine. Bill, hello.
Hey, Randy. Say, listen, number one, in my case, my kids were raised right. They would never be involved in something like that. But, yeah, if they were, I think they got to pay the price. But, the interesting thing is these maniac kids that are doing this, they're actually pretty lucky because they have a district attorney right now that's most likely going to do nothing. There will be no charges filed. And even if there were charges filed, the cases will never go to court. They'll be dropped, and there probably wouldn't even be a fine. So maybe in the new year, with a new district attorney, because Gascon is probably out the door, going to lose, maybe there will be consequences in 2025. And these kids that think this is going to continue, I don't think so. At least there'll be new consequences with the district attorney. But for now, I don't think anything's going to change because this band of kids, there'll be more. Probably what they'll do now is they'll wear masks so they can, not be identified. And it's going to continue. A blue city with no consequences, no law enforcement it's not the cops' fault. They'll, they do their job, but there's no legal court consequences, and so it's probably going to continue unless we get new, much stronger court action. And if that's the case, maybe things will change. But yeah, they gotta. The only way to stop this is to change who these elected officials are and punish these out of control kids because it's going to continue. I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, they start wearing masks and hoodies, and then they'll never know who these people are.
I think you're right. Unless we send a message that this kind of behavior is unacceptable because there are consequences that have teeth, we're just going to keep seeing this. We saw 14 in just the last 2 months.
Yeah, I wonder how many red cities, you go across, into the red states and red cities. I wonder how many times we see this in, in Dallas, Oklahoma City, Tampa, and some of these other red cities. I would be surprised to see that it ever occurs in those cities. So blue cities, that's what you get. That's what, unfortunately, I feel bad for these 7-Eleven owners. 90% are independent-owned businesses. They're hurting, and they may not have insurance or adequate insurance. This may come out of their life savings. It's terrible for the owners of these stores. These guys are trying to make a living and pay, they're not getting rich running a 7-Eleven, believe me. They're not getting rich. That's a low-margin business. So I feel bad.
You are totally right about that. And there are real victims, and they're the ones that have to deal with all the consequences of this. Bill, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. This isn't like you're bumping off the big man. If that's what you want to do, I don't think that's a good idea either, but go rob an Amazon Fresh. Go directly after Jeff Bezos. 800-222-KABC is the phone number, 1-800-222-5222. It's interesting what was brought up about George Gascon.
Quite frankly.
Because Gascon firmly believes, part of his ideology is, and part of this is true, that the human brain is not fully developed until about 25, 26. However, George Gascon believes that you shouldn't be responsible for anything you do in the years coming up to 25, 26 because your brain's not fully developed. And I think that's a bridge too far for me. 800-222-KABC, 1-800-222-5222. Let's go to John in Burbank. John, hello.
Hey, Ryan. How you doing, brother?
Doing great.
So when I was about 10, 11 years old, I got caught stealing some extra large wife beater shirts from a Safeway. I made the manager, and this is our local Safeway down at the end of the corner. I made the local manager call LAPD and take me to jail. I sat in jail for about 4 hours before I gave him my dad's phone number so he would calm down, or at least I thought he would calm down. I got home, and I think my butt is still red from the whooping.
Well, that taught you.
I'm 55 now. So, yeah. And you know what? I think I might have, walked by and stole one of them, the Bach butterscotch candy one time after that. But that's about the extent of my thieving career.
It looks like you learned your lesson. John, thanks so much for the call. Appreciate it. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. 1-800-222-5222. If you saw your kids in a video robbing a 7-Eleven, would you turn them into the police? Would you punish them further? 800-222-KABC. 1-800-222-5222. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Let's get back to the phones and go to Anna in Burbank. Anna, hello.
Yeah, hi. I just for 1 second there, I'm sorry, the screener said kids, and I said kids, what kids? I don't call those guys kids, but what kind of parents do you think those teenagers or, young adults have? So I would, but I would not imagine to have it, a son that is doing that. But I was going to say, the guy said they'll wear masks. They've been wearing masks, since COVID, tragically, but the cops still can recognize, clothing, and they put the pictures on TV, and then the neighbors or friends turn them in, thank God, because I watch See No Evil, and that's how they find them. 7-Eleven and liquor store murders are, it's terrible.
Oh, yeah, that's what you got to do. You've got to start with the public shaming, putting these things on video. Thanks so much for the call, Anna. Maybe what we need is every time one of these things gets roughed up, we have the security video and as many close-up pictures of their faces, I don't care if they're minors, on billboards throughout the city. Little public shaming, that's what we do. Hey, how about this? Look at this, everyone. 790 KABC welcomes John Waite at the Canyon at the Oxnard Performing Arts Center on October 4th, this Friday. Tickets are on sale now at AXS.com, but right now, call in number 9 at 1-888-790-5222. Gets a pair of tickets to the show. Tickets furnished by the Canyon, where music meets the soul. Good luck dialing. More of your calls coming up. It's the News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC. Wang on KABC. Let's go to Bill in La Cañada. Bill, hello.
Hey, Randy, no kidding. Your old school solution was the first thing that came to my mind. And mine's a little bit augmented, though. I would make them, in addition to smoking the cigarettes, they would have to eat the 7-Eleven food for a year. And they would have to go to a year's worth of school board meetings and listen to the local idiot superintendent talk about DEI justice. But one caveat, both of these may be Eighth Amendment violations.
Not only that, you make your kid eat 7-Eleven for a year, they're going to have diabetes, and you got to pay for it.
That's one way to solve the problem.
There you go. Thanks so much for the call, Bill. Appreciate it. If you fatten them up, they'll be a lot slower and don't think that they can get away with stuff. There you go. Let's go to Joshua in Placentia. Joshua, hello.
Hey, Randy. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Hey, I just want to start this out with a little preface here, 30 seconds. 43 years old, and I spent 20 years of my life on methamphetamines and heroin and brought myself back for that. Healthy, Local 12 union member and father. And you know what? I'll tell you what. without the guidance of the law, putting me in jail about 8 or 9 times and spending about 6 years of my life there, and my parents beating me over the head with Christ and different things that I resisted for, God, about 30 years of my life, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. Yeah, I'd turn them in. That's what my parents would do. That's what anybody that loves their child would do. And I don't know how much more I have to say, but consequences, you need them in life. We learn, we mess up, and you don't learn things in life unless you mess up and learn from them. Randy, thank you. That's all I need. I'm Josh Allen from Placentia, and I hope everybody knows who just said this. Thank you, Randy. Bye.
Thank you so much, Joshua. Wow, that is so inspiring. When you're in the throes of addiction like that, if you don't have consequences, you can't hit bottom. And that's why I feel that Prop 47 kind of took away so many consequences that people don't bottom out and they continue in the throes of their addiction. For some people, rock bottom is jail or court-mandated treatment, but that's another topic for another day. Now, I was never really a bad kid. I mean, I was probably a jerk, especially to my brothers, but they were also a jerk to me. However, when I was a teenager, I think I was 13, might have been 12. I was definitely young. I was in the back of a cop car once. Let me tell you this story. It was summertime, and I was supposed to spend the day at Magic Mountain, as Santa Clarita kids do, with my buddy Gary. And Gary and I get dropped off at Magic Mountain by my parents, and then my parents are going off to the valley to do what they love to do, which is shop at Goodwill's for cheap crap. So they're gone. We're at Magic Mountain all by ourselves. But here's the problem. It's the middle of summer. Magic Mountain is packed, and it's hot, and it's miserable. There's nothing going on. You can't even get on the carousel. It's so packed. And we were 12 and spoiled and bratty, and we're like, this is no fun. I remember having to go up to a payphone because we didn't have cell phones then. This is like 1997, and try to call my parents and be like, can you come get us? Can you come get us? No, we can't. So I lived about 3.5, 4 miles away from Six Flags Magic Mountain, and I told my friend, hey, why don't we just walk home? It's not that far. I'm sure we can figure it out. So we decide. We walk out of the park. 2 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, whatever we were. And the thing is, I don't really know directions that well. I've never driven a car, but I know the easiest way to get from one end of Santa Clarita to the other, and that's the 5 freeway. And so my friend and I, completely unaware of any laws considering pedestrians, walk up the on-ramp of the 5 freeway. I am not making this story up. And we start walking along the shoulder. I think within maybe 5 minutes, someone pulls over asking what you kids are doing and do you need a ride? And of course, stranger danger. We're okay. Don't worry about us. About 10 minutes later of walking on the shoulder of the 5 freeway, 2 random 12-year-olds, we get pulled over by the police. A sheriff's deputy comes and grabs us, puts us in the back of the car. The sheriff's deputy asks us what we were doing on the freeway. Don't you know about pedestrian laws? And I believe I said, what's a pedestrian? He ended up giving us a lift back to the house after questioning us to make sure we weren't the same kids that they were on the lookout for that were throwing rocks at cars. That wasn't us. That was some other kids. And my friend is panicking. Like, oh, we're going to get in so much trouble. He's begging and pleading with the officer. Don't tell our parents. We didn't mean it. We didn't know what we were doing. And the sheriff's deputy actually ended up pulling over right on the curb, the corner of our street, to let us out. And we didn't actually get told on. We learned our lesson. I'll tell you very much. I know now that you can't walk on the freeway, how I did know that at 12. But the whole time I'm sitting in the car and my friend is panicking, I'm thinking to myself, hey, I'm getting a free ride home. How about this? That is a real thing that happened. And then I didn't even reveal that story to my parents for like 10 years when I blabbed about it on a podcast. And it took a while for my mother to believe that actually happened, but it did. That's the only time I've ever really had a run-in with the law. Other than that, an upstanding citizen who somehow got into radio. Explain that one. Thank you all so much for listening to this show. It's always such a pleasure to be here every single day, taking your phone calls, having these discussions. It is such a dream come true to do this every day. If you ever miss an episode of this show, or you want to catch up on older episodes, let's say you're a new listener, I've been doing this show since January, so you can go all the way back and listen to all of those. You can also listen to the show I do from noon to 3 with John Phillips here on KABC by going to KABC.com, clicking on podcast, go to KABC.com/newsblitz, or use the Apple Podcast app. That's what I use for all the podcasts I listen to. Search for KABC News Blitz. You can hit follow, you can hit subscribe, you could write a review. They go straight to your phone. You get them every day. And when we do our Happy Hour Friday shows, you get all the transcripts in your phone. How cool is that? See you tomorrow for another News Blitz with Randy Wang on KABC.